12 Best Things to Do in Fez, Morocco. Weird, wild and wonderful, Fez is one of the last remaining medieval cities in the world. With an impressive history that dates back over 1,000 years, Fez is filled with bustling souks, crowded cafes, captivating Marinid architecture, extraordinary mosques, and authentic madrasas, Islamic schools. With so much to see and do in Fez, it's no surprise this northeastern city is lovingly referred to as Morocco's cultural capital. 10. Gorge Nord. Gorge Nord is an ancient fortress in Fez, perched on a hilltop overlooking the Medina and its famous Bab Boujdour. Built in the late 16th century by Sultan Ahmed al-Mansur as a way of keeping an eye on his people, it's been operating as an arms museum since 2016. Today, the Gorge Nord houses a varied collection of around 5,000 weapons spread across 13 rooms, ranging from swords and guns to muskets and other weaponry. The 12-ton cannon used in the infamous 16th century Battle of Three Kings is a major highlight. 9. Marina Tombs. The Marina Tombs are the remains of an ancient 14th century necropolis that once towered above the Fez Medina. These crumbling tombs were built during the Marinid dynasty to serve as the final resting place of the royal family. While they were once striking in their heyday, with brilliant marble and vivid epitaphs, what remains after years of looting and exposure is rather mediocre. Luckily, it's not the architecture that will have you legging it up the hill to the Marinid Tombs. You'll have a view over the sprawling Medina as well as the hills dotted with human-made caves that locals actually live in. 8. Khraween Mosque. The Khraween Mosque is Morocco's second largest and one of Africa's largest mosques. With a green triangular-shaped roof and two historic minarets, one of which is the oldest Islamic monument in Fez, it's one of the most iconic landmarks in the Fez El Bali Medina. Built in 859 by a female refugee from Tunisia, the original building has been expanded several times and can now cater for up to 20,000 people in prayer. The complex includes fountains, courtyards, and a library that's one of the oldest in the world, open only to students though. 7. Aderine Madrasa. Located beside the fragrant spice and perfume market in the center of the Medina, the Aderine Madrasa is a religious school with some of the most striking Islamic architecture in Fez. Built in the 14th century, it boasts a gorgeous rectangular courtyard that opens onto a remarkable four-sided prayer hall. This Marinid courtyard is a feast for the senses with its intricately carved stucco, Arabic calligraphy, tinkling fountain, and blue and green geometrical mosaics covering the walls and floor. While the courtyard is the main appeal of the madrasa, visitors can also see the more recently renovated student accommodation upstairs. 6. Nederine Museum. The Nederine Museum of Wooden Arts and Crafts is a creative museum spread across 3 stories of a refurbished 18th century funduk, an old traveler's inn. Take your time discovering the impressive examples of fine Moroccan woodwork, ranging from expertly carved doors to handmade musical instruments. Built around an elegant central courtyard, the museum showcases the differences between the traditional Amazigh styles and the typical Andalusian designs of Fez. 5. Bab Boujdour. Unlike many of Morocco's famous landmarks, Bab Boujdour is relatively modern, as it was built only in 1913. Established during the times of French occupation, the arresting cobalt blue archway with its mosaic tiles is a massive, eye-catching landmark in the Medina. What's interesting about the Bab Boujdour archway is that its mosaics change color from blue on the exterior wall to green on the interior wall, to mark the sacred color of Islam. You'll find a host of bustling cafes and restaurants on the other side of the gate, all of which are perfect for people watching. 4. Jardin Jannan Sebil. A literal breath of fresh air in an often chaotic city, the Jardin Jannan Sebil is one of Fez's only green spaces, tucked between the Fez El Bali Medina and the Jewish quarter. First built over a century ago, the gardens were neglected for years and then restored in 2011. Surrounded by the old medieval walls of the Fez Medina, these beautifully landscaped gardens are the perfect spot to enjoy a quick lunch on one of the benches. Tucked within the walkways, you'll find tranquil fountains, fragrant roses, poplar trees, palms, and ponds. 3. Bowania Medicine. The Bowania Medicine is one of Fez's most architecturally beautiful theological colleges. Built by the Marinid Sultan Bowania in the 1350s, it's one of the only still functioning religious buildings in Fez that's open to non-Muslims. The interior courtyard boasts detailed Moroccan zellige tiles and carved dark cedar lattice screens, while the mihrab niche boasts impressive onyx columns that are similar to those in the Great Mosque of Córdoba. Unusually, the Bowania is joined to a functioning mosque, so it's closed to tourists during prayer times. 2. Chawara Tanneries. One of FE's 3 working tanneries, the Chawara Tanneries is the largest leather workshop in the city. Built in the 11th century, it's a constant hive of activity in the already bustling Medina. Visitors can have a look at the countless round stone vessels filled with dye and liquids used to soften the leather hides and learn about the ancient leather-making process that's been used in FEs for centuries. The best time to visit the Chawara Tanneries is in the morning when the pits are covered in colorful dye. It's the perfect place to pick up a variety of leather products, such as sandals and handbags, at affordable prices. 1. FE's El Bali. Located in the oldest walled part of the city, the FE's El Bali is made up of over 9,000 labyrinthine narrow alleyways, so narrow that they aren't accessible to cars. In fact, the FE's El Bali is the world's largest car-free urban area on Earth. Dating back to the Idrisid dynasty, where it was the region capital between 789 and 808 AD, the Medina is the perfect place to get lost in. Wander off into the alleys and browse the jam-packed shops and stalls, mosques and madrasas, leather tanneries, and stalls selling everything from steaming Moroccan tea and fragrant dates and spices to souvenirs. FE's El Bali is the best preserved Medina in the Arab world, and the ideal spot to soak up the authentic atmosphere of Morocco's lovable mayhem.